Good morning, and thank you for attending our seminar on how to effectively lead a virtual team. Today we'll discuss several topics for a successful virtual team, including what is a team, what are effective tools for use within a virtual team, and also how can the leaders of the group encourage success among your team members. So for now, just by a show of hands, I would like you all to let me know who has worked in what we would call a virtual setting, where you worked on a project or had a meeting without ever meeting your colleague or industry leader face to face. Wonderful. As you guys can see, this is a very growing trend. With companies who have footprints spread across the entire United States and even again across international waters, there's a rising need for people to be able to come together without the travel required. And that's where you're seeing the increase of virtual teams. Consider this. How many of you found working on your virtual team a success? Yeah, okay. It's a wonderful tool because you can bring in so many different expertise levels, but then there also has to be a great understanding of the success factors within a virtual team. So let's just go ahead and determine what exactly is a virtual team. So a virtual team is any group of members or colleagues that come together to work on the same project at the same time. There are many characteristics that are important to utilize within a virtual team. So your virtual team, number one, is typically going to be geographically dispersed. That can mean dispersed to the office building a few miles away, dispersed to the office building on the West Coast, and it could mean dispersed to an international location in Japan or South Africa. Virtual team members that are going to be successful will work very independently. They'll have a high level of independence, ability to work on problems, determine solutions, and come up with common goals. These people do not need micromanagement. They're going to be people that have already been entrusted within the company or the industry as leaders, people who find solutions. Your virtual team members are also going to have strong leadership skills. Now that can pose a problem because too many leaders in a group can become problematic. However, you want people who will be able to take lead in their specific level of expertise. You want people who will speak up and encourage your group. And virtual members will have a very high level of communication skills, whether it's verbally, written, or even electronic. They need to be able to express themselves, express their needs, and maintain that communication at all times. So you may ask, why are we using a virtual team? Well, why? Because there's several great benefits of a virtual team. My number one favorite benefit of working with a virtual team is because you can bring in a wide variety of expertise and skill level into one meeting. Why not? Why not have the most educated, the industry leaders, the people who have varying levels of expertise to one project to make sure that the outcome is amazing? Why not? Also think about employee and organizational cost. How much would it cost to bring that industry leader with the highest level of expertise from Tokyo to New York? You've got a flight, you've got overnight accommodations, you have meals. There's so many expenses associated with that when we could simply meet on a virtual plane. Also think about flexibility and fewer meetings. We all understand in the business world how a meeting can interrupt your day. Doesn't it seem like just when you're in the flow of something, timer goes off, it's time to leave out for that meeting? What about the meetings that we've all had where there's multiple meetings on top of multiple meetings and there's really no resolutions found? If we could do those from the comfort of our desk without leaving and completely interrupting our day, or if we could have those meetings at convenient times where, first thing in the morning or prior to the end of your business day, those can all be accomplished through using a virtual team. You can also think of the increased productivity levels. So if you're able to work on something more effectively and efficiently, if you have the tools to get the questions answered more quickly, you will be more productive. You will see an increase within your organization of success rates. And what about the ability to access multiple markets at one time? East and West Coast, globalization. With virtual team and people working together, you can access all of this in one setting. Another benefit is that the virtual world it's typically open virtually 24 hours a day. So if you do have people on international time, they're able to continue to work and contribute at the same time, loading it up and making sure that their East and West Coast people have access to that information almost instantaneously. Now, with every group or every team, there has to be a leader. Where I said that leadership can become problematic within a virtual team is because too many leaders can clash. So it's very important when developing your virtual team dynamics to go ahead and outline who will be the actual virtual team leader. Now, the virtual team leader could just simply be a colleague that's been charged with kind of overseeing the group. It could be a manager. It could be a vice president of a company who's, developing this virtual team to find solutions to a current problem. But virtual leaders need to make sure that they possess specific motivation tools. Virtual leaders need to be able to establish the norm behaviors of the group. Establish and maintain the norms of the group. They need to encourage social events. That's interesting. How do you have virtual social events? Well, a virtual social event could simply be a recognition ceremony at the beginning of a meeting. It could be a celebratory message that goes out to the team and then there's interaction. Is it someone's birthday? Did someone get married? Have a child? Have a work anniversary? Those are all things that can be embedded into your virtual team as a social event. Your virtual leader is going to encourage goal setting and trust building. Now, if you're working with a group of people that you've never met and you're charged with relying on their skill level and expertise, that can be tough because we all want our projects to be successful. We all want to see a win. So we have to work together closely in the beginning to establish the expertise, establish the skill level, and establish that trust by following the norms of the group and working together to communicate. So a virtual leader would also be very apt at working with the team to anticipate and cope with any issues that arise. It could simply be that a solution didn't work the way they thought it would. Or maybe two team members had words over a particular suggestion. Maybe a goal wasn't hit at the marked time and it causes turmoil within the group. The virtual leader would be charged with handling those situations and encouraging resolution. And the virtual leader is also going to be charged with fostering that communication level, encouraging it, building it, simply making sure it's occurring, because it is one of the most important factors of a virtual team. In addition, your virtual team leader is going to possess leadership skills that are very important for them to maintain. Their leadership skills and effective practices are going to include establishing and maintaining communication through the use of technology. Yes, we can all pick up the phone, we can all send an email, but later on we're going to discuss specific ways to handle situations that could be more effective. And the virtual leader would be encouraged to make sure that, maybe a team member who's a little more old-fashioned doesn't rely too heavily on the telephone calls, because there needs to be a paper trail for the other group members to see what's going on and to be able to kind of maintain the same level of expectancies on the task. The group leader would also be charged with encouraging and making sure that the team understands the diversity of the group and that it's just appreciated. We may all be from different geographic locations. So does that mean that we maybe have different communication standards? Do we potentially have, cultural variations that may make communication more difficult at times? These are all things that, when leading a virtual team, you have to make sure that you're ready to address. Additionally, they're going to just simply monitor the progress and enhance visibility of the team members, again, by encouraging the communication and making sure that things are documented for everyone to be able to see. Now, critical competencies of a virtual team member were briefly discussed in the beginning, but it's very important that these individuals are independent, self-motivated, and very disciplined. Each team member needs to be sensitive of the diversity and the intercultural aspects of the group. They need to be able to manage complex ideas. We are talking about finding real solutions to problems within organizations. They have to be proactive. If a solution isn't going to work, they need to address that immediately so the next solution can be brought on board. They need to be cooperative. Maybe sometimes the solution will work, but you need to work together to tweak things. And they have to have the competence with, tools and internet options for communication. Now, each of you have your company laptop. IT department has preloaded that laptop with the tools that we consider successful tools for virtual teams. You'll see each icon is preloaded for you. You have your GoToMeeting icon, your internet icon, your Outlook icon, Skype, and the login for your discussion board. These items have been preloaded and they have the same password as your login and username and password for your company computer. Now, each of these tools have different uses. Each tool is very important to the success of your virtual team. GoToMeeting is perfect for a presentation style meeting where you might be showing a PowerPoint, showing an Excel, or even a graphic on how a new product would work. You can bring in as many members as you need, 10, 20, 50. They can all have access to webcam so that as they're speaking, you can see their faces and understand their actions and body movements. Or you can simply listen to voice. You can do that through a headset or straight through the computer. But each presenter can be passed the screen so that each person involved can see what's on that person's screen. They can demonstrate their models, they can show their PowerPoints, etc. Great tool for usage, great tool for bringing in multiple people or one-on-one. Skype, on the other hand, I think is best served when used for two people. You can sit, you can look at each other, you can analyze each other's, body language and movement through the use of Skype. You can have discussions, and you can kind of a more one-on-one communication, yet virtually. Internet Explorer. You're always going to use your internet within a virtual team. You'll be sending emails, you'll be talking to, looking up maybe even different tools that are new and emerging. Outlook. All of you already had Outlook. Your global address book will contain the address, the phone number, the email, the geographic location, as well as the the time zone that each person's in through use of your global directory within your current Outlook setup. You can send emails to the group or email to the individual, as well as schedule appointments and meetings right through your Outlook. Now, one thing I want to say about email and Outlook is make sure you're aware of who you're communicating to. Does it require a reply all? Is this something that everybody on the team really needs to know? Or is this just a brief snippet of information that needs to go directly to the person you're communicating with? That's something that we need to make sure that we're not doing like email overload for our group. We need to make sure that if we need to reply all because it's an important piece of information, send it out, reply all. If it goes to one person, just send it to that one person. Now, moving forward, you'll also have your discussion board. Your discussion board is a great place for you to send your information to the team, whether it's a question, whether it's a new piece of information, whether it's a website you'd like the team to look into. You can send that directly through the discussion board, and then people can comment on it and give you feedback, which can be seen by the team at their convenience. This is more useful if it's just something that wants to be considered prior to the next meeting. Okay? Now moving forward, we're going to go ahead and remind you, look alive, guys. You're having a meeting here. When you're working within a virtual team, you've got one person on the side of this computer, another person on this computer. You might have two people sitting in an office together. Make sure that everyone is interacting. It would be the manager's responsibility to make sure that you are actually seeing what's going on, that you're actually communicating with each other, and that you are actually participating amongst the group. Now that's the manager's responsibility. Another thing that the manager would be responsible for doing is simply encouraging the interaction and the social development. The manager needs to be aware if a group member isn't participating at the kind of expectancies. They need to get with them and understand, why are you not communicating? Is there a problem? Maybe they're just a little more shy in the virtual world than, another person is. Another issue, don't let one person overtake the entire meeting. Some people even have what they call a token. You use the token, and if you have that token, you have 10 minutes to speak. When your 10 minutes is up, you pass the token so that moving forward, everyone has a chance to talk, and if there's still time remaining, you could request the token back. That's not always necessary. You really have to just determine what your particular team needs. Maybe more encouragement, maybe less. Something that each leader needs to consider is the use of equal suffering. Now, it's hard to, describe that specifically, but you have to remember that you may be dealing with people on the East Coast and the West Coast. So if you schedule a 9 a.m. meeting every Monday morning, you're asking these people to come into the office or check into their email at 6, or check into their go-to meetings at 6 a.m. What if you have an international group? You really have to determine when is a good, solid time for all of the group members to meet, which means it could be at 6 p.m., Eastern time, so that the international folks and the West Coast folks aren't so, taken back from the time. Maybe it's that you have one meeting a month on international time, another meeting on Eastern, and another meeting on Western, so that you can equally disperse that suffering from, time frames that you have to be available. Now, can anyone describe a situation where you'll need to select mutual meeting times? I think we kind of went over it, right? International, Eastern, Western. Those are all times where you'll need to understand that people are not all sitting at the desk the same time you are, okay? So could the question that you have be sent via email? Could it be sent via text? Could you Skype later on with one specific individual? Or is this really something that you need to bring the entire group in on? I don't want to, discourage group interaction, but also remember that this is a collective event. So you need to make sure that you're considering the best options for communication throughout the time together. Now, four effective ways to encourage the group's progress could be daily communication check-ins. Maybe daily is only through the manager. Maybe as the group evolves and grows and trust is built, maybe that could become weekly or maybe even monthly, depending on how long-term the project is. Posting long-term goals is important. Every team member needs to know the goal that his colleague is trying to achieve so that you can see the progress and wrap things together as the time comes. Maybe your colleague can't actually work on his goal until your goal is completed. So posting the goals and posting your project is highly effective in making sure that the group is staying on track. Maintaining feedback is extremely important as well. The group needs to know where they are, where any problems may be, or where the successes are, so they know how to change and adapt the group as needed. Effective virtual leaders spend time mentoring other team members. Okay? We're bringing in people with high expertise levels for a reason. We want you to work together and to communicate ideas, to share information so that each one of you can learn from each other and effectively grow. But more importantly, there has to be recognition. If there's no benefit from working within a virtual team, then satisfaction levels decrease, productivity levels decrease. Managers can lead virtual reward ceremonies. It may sound cheesy, but we all like to know that we're doing a good job. A manager could simply send out an email with a high level of recognition to one employee who achieved a very successful goal or outcome. Maybe at a meeting where each member is involved, you take time to talk about the people who have had a success. Individual recognition is great too. Not everything has to be publicly announced. We all enjoy when our boss pats us on the back and says, "Great job." Sometimes it can be simple as that. What about making the person's real location boss aware of the success that they've had within this virtual team? You never know. Their day-to-day activities may have changed and their boss may be frustrated because now they're spending time on this outside project. Let that boss know how successful this person has been, which can then further encourage their growth and their time within their current jobs. The next most important thing is just remembering that implementing a virtual team is a change. There's the implementation progress that we recommend. First, introduce it. Anything that's new, any process that's new, it's going to take time to work. And the most important thing that you can do is make sure that everyone understands what they're doing and understands how they're going to be allowed to embrace that change. Discuss the benefits. Discuss the questions. Make sure that everyone really knows what their expectations are going to be. And try again. Sometimes you might have to kind of work at building and evolving this team. Just try. Just try it and try it again. Again, evolve and adjust. Allow your team members to come together and find ways to make it work. Find ways that they can grow and understand and become successful. And always be willing to adapt. You may have to adapt a member. There may be someone who just simply isn't interested in what, the virtual team offers. Maybe it wasn't a good fit. Maybe there's new technologies that have come out and you need to adjust and adapt to using that new technology to make your team the most successful it can be. And I think most importantly, simply pay attention and provide support. Sometimes you may need to provide the support. The manager might not see an issue or might not understand that someone's having difficulties. Each and every person should consider themselves charged with paying attention and providing support to equal success. I'd like to thank you all for coming in today. I hope that you further understand what exactly a virtual team is and understand a couple of the tools that we consider highly effective, where they'd be successful for use, and when you should use them. I wish you all great success within your virtual teams. Thank you.